Hey there, and welcome to Horror Trivia Saturday, where I take a deeper look at horror history. Not just the films themselves, but how the genre is judged, remembered, and often misunderstood. Today's trivia centers on a moment that still stands almost completely alone. In 1991, Kathy Bates won the Academy Award for Best Actress for her role in Misery. That sentence alone carries weight. But what makes it truly remarkable is this: she won for a horror performance. So here's today's trivia question. Why is Kathy Bates' Oscar win for Misery still considered a rarity in horror history? The answer has very little to do with her performance and everything to do with how horror is treated. Misery was released in 1990, adapted from Stephen King's novel, and framed as a psychological thriller. It's intimate, restrained, nearly theatrical in its simplicity. 2 characters, 1 house, no monsters, no elaborate effects. But Annie Wilkes is one of the most terrifying characters ever put on screen. And Kathy Bates doesn't play her as a villain, she plays her as a person. Annie is polite, awkward, earnest, hurt. She laughs easily, she cries easily, she believes she's doing the right thing. That sincerity is what makes her dangerous. Most horror performances are dismissed because they're seen as exaggerated or artificial. Loud screams, big reactions, obvious fear. Kathy Bates does the opposite. She internalizes the horror. Annie doesn't feel like a movie monster. She feels like someone you could meet, someone who believes she's justified, someone who thinks love entitles her to control. That's not spectacle, that's acting. And it forced the Academy into a corner. Historically, horror has been tolerated by awards bodies only when it disguises itself, when it wears the mask of drama, when it avoids genre labels. Misery did exactly that. It didn't ask to be seen as horror, it dared you to deny it. The Academy didn't suddenly embrace horror in 1991. They responded to a performance so undeniable that ignoring it would have exposed their bias. And that's why this win matters. Before and after Kathy Bates, horror performances have routinely been overlooked. Not because they lack craft, but because fear is treated as spectacle instead of emotional labor. Horror asks actors to live in extremes, to embody trauma, panic, obsession, and dread. But because those emotions are tied to the genre, they're often dismissed as less serious. Kathy Bates shattered that assumption. Her Annie Wilkes moves fluidly between warmth and cruelty, calm and rage, comfort and violence, and the transitions are seamless. The horror isn't in what she does, it's in how casually she does it. That subtlety is what made the performance impossible to ignore. And yet, despite this historic win, it didn't open the door for horror. It closed behind her. Decades later, horror performances are still fighting for legitimacy. They're praised after the fact, celebrated by fans, studied by critics, but rarely rewarded in the moment. Kathy Bates' Oscar remains the exception, and that tells us something uncomfortable. Horror didn't earn recognition, it borrowed it. Misery had to look like prestige drama to be taken seriously, and even then, it only worked once. That's why this trivia matters, because it reveals how genre bias shapes what we consider great acting. Kathy Bates didn't just win an Oscar, she exposed a system that still hasn't changed. Now, if you enjoy long-form deep dives into into horror history, performance, and storytelling, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps the channel grow and lets me know you want more conversations like this. And if you're a writer or creator, I also break down storytelling techniques like this every week on my Substack, with practical writing tips, craft advice, and lessons pulled straight from horror history that you can actually use. Until next time, never underestimate quiet terror. Never dismiss genre work. And remember, horror doesn't need permission to be great.